future, our utopia of happiness. World is now more civilized than ever in history. Progress will always move forwards to new heights and evolve us further into perfection. Humanity has reached its final stage. Hence savagery is unacceptable. God, art, science, beauty and independence all gone. What is left is happiness and prosperity. Heaven is a commodity weighing a few grams. We're all part of something divine. Join us in the place of your dreams.
So the book is set in the future, obviously, and the world is 1000% consumerist. People are born into 4 roles of society: the alphas, the betas, the epsilons, and the semi-morons. Through genetics and developmental stunting, the masses are made controllable and made 100% perfect for the role that they're going to serve the society. And hence everyone follows the common law and no one questions it. It's not because they're too afraid to do so, it's simply because they literally cannot. Their brains are designed so that they could never question anything. And furthermore, the conditions are maximally optimized to make sure that no one ever has even a reason to question anything. And this has led to the stability of the society and maximum pleasure. There is no such thing that you can imagine as pleasure that you wouldn't get in this society. However, the consequence of this has been that thought, philosophy, art, science, the literatures, and everything that we hold dear today have become savage practices of the past. Morality has become useless insofar as it only serves one purpose. Morality has always been something that takes away from pain, but if there is no pain, what's the purpose of morals at all? Now you might be thinking, what has led society to go towards this direction specifically? And the answer is quite simple. It's our own desire for pleasure and our own urge to get rid of everything that we deem bothersome in this world. Our desire to alleviate pain and to control all that we're too afraid to face. Our urge to live painlessly has led us to become consumers, and consumers beyond individuality. Now all the structures of society are designed to maximize consumption, to entertain us endlessly and to keep us into that zone. Hence, to keep us from thinking too far and destabilizing society. This hole was before filled by religion, but now that we have purged God from existence, consumption and painlessness have become the new religion. Soma being the new all-worship religion, a sort of opium that all people take, has become a prayer. Whenever you feel hopeless, escape into the deep slumber of all your favorite dreams and desires, imaginable, but not in dreams. To you it is real. Real more than any real you know. More real than reality itself. Heaven is just one pill away. Hell's a relic of the past. Nothing more than a story. Why be sad and miserable for the lies of the past? Why be afraid of worlds that never existed? We, as the god of the new world, have thrown out the snake along with his venom. Is the future of today more like the hellish depiction shown in 1984 written by George Orwell? Or is it more like the sought-after hell predicted by Huxley in Brave New World? This can be answered simply by pointing out the fact that unlike the world present in 1984, in modern times, world as a whole isn't a place of endless war, and a world filled with constant and forced suffering for the sake of suffering to prove power. And the reason for that not being the case is that the ineffectiveness of negative reinforcement, while the overwhelming results that can be gained through positive reinforcement. This was proven by B.F. Skinner in 1948 when he showed in his study about operant conditioning that positive reinforcement was much more effective in changing the behavior of the test rats, which was done by rewarding the rats when they did the desirable act of pulling a certain lever, as opposed to punishing them when they didn't. What he observed was that the rats kept pulling the lever over and over again to gain the reward. Positive reinforcement furthermore works in a society because the subject wants to do the thing on his own accord, and once they do things on their own accord, there is no need for any form of punishment. For example, if you forced a person to watch a certain stuff on screen to make them think a certain way, there will be far too much resistance from the other end than if you made the viewing experience pleasurable beyond measure and made them want to watch it, not forced to, but want to watch it, and hence remove all useless reasons for undesirable thinking. And as Skinner wrote, by careful design we control not the final behavior, but the inclinations to behave, the motives, the desires, the wishes. And the interesting thing is that in that case, the question of freedom never arises. And furthermore, thinking that achieving a world such as that would be impossible is not only illogical, it is moronic. As Huxley wrote in regards to how he thought those designing societies would distribute these positive stimuli that will make them think, feel and behave the way they desire. And he concluded that in probability, it'll be enough to make the pills available. And we see today all around us endless modes of silencing the pain of reality. And as these stimuli, which to put in Huxley's word, provide us with a holiday from reality, become more and more personalized through the advances of computer algorithms such as those used by multinational corporations such as Google, YouTube, and so on. And every day, as the distance between us and our societal soma becomes smaller, it becomes more and more irresistible and unavoidable. And the nature of it becomes, as Huxley described it, it would be the last revolution. And to be frank, as far as morality is concerned, it is never immoral to inflict pleasure as opposed to pain. And hence the problem has become unstoppable. And as regarding our future, Huxley wrote that humanity at large will ever be able to dispense with artificial paradises seems very unlikely. Most men and women live their lives at worst so painful and at best so monotonous, poor and limited that the urge to escape, the longing to transcend themselves if only for a few moments, is and has always been one of our principal appetites of soul. And hence those aware of the reality of the situation and unable to escape it will be like the savage in Brave New World, fighting a lost war and beyond any hope. The bullet has left the barrel. It is too late for it to stop. Nearly all forms of pleasure have been a distraction from the painful reality of life. All technological developments in our society have served one purpose and one purpose alone, making life a little less painful. Optimize the painlessness of life and to make all that needs suffering optimized to be more pleasurable. We live more painless lives than any of our forefathers ever did. We have more modes of entertainment available now than ever in the history of mankind. All of the fantasies imaginable of any nature whatsoever are closer to you than anyone could have ever thought they would be. Not more than a few centuries ago, the way lives were lived was constant struggle to only have a few moments of pleasure. Hence we turned our attention towards different ideas that assured us that all that suffering had meaning. Some delighted us with the hopes of endless happiness after death. others give us reasons. The suffering was in reality our own sin and provided us with ways of getting rid of it. We had always needed comfort more than reality, and hence we found a way of coping with the possibility of a lack of objective meaning. And henceforth, lives became a little less suffocating, and by making up lies that we never ever would believe were lives in the first place, nothing's untrue until you don't think too hard. We became happy with the nature of our suffering. We became happier than the reality of the existence could ever have granted us to be. And even though there were a limited few that decided to live their lives aware of the truth and understand the factual nature of the meaning that all others were henceforth running after, but sadly enough, they had simply never been the majority. Lives were more so delusions based on the backs of delusions of the past. It was not merely the fact that they never had any knowledge, but more so no reason of looking for it. Now we have turned the tables on life. Though lives of today can still be described as unworthy of enjoying, we have thrown out the meaning and what we know to be delusions, and instead we have simply turned to blocking out the pain so that it might not swallow us. And the way we did that was to flood ourselves with endless entertainment. We have drowned out our own brain to make sure that we don't think too far about the true nature of our existence because we were too afraid that we might not be able to deal with it. And now, instead of taking the journey of the hero and fighting a war filled with misery to get to the treasure, we have taken as much misery out of it as we could and have wiped clean all that stood in our way. What took lives to acquire once in the past now only takes a few milliseconds to load. And yet it has all become less and less fulfilling for those that in the back of their mind want still to live lives of the heroes. Shockingly enough, we want to suffer, to be sure about the realness of the happiness that we're gaining. To us, it means nothing if it's handed to us. Pleasure that's made too easy to obtain eventually becomes worthless. Hence, we have a decision ahead of us of either choosing the real and painful or delusional hollow pleasures. And I would like to still think that the wise will still prefer birth instead.